Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, TGIF, and all of that. Welcome back to another Distributed Tea Time. As always, I'm Aydrian Howard. I'm a developer advocate at Cockroach Labs. Rob is on holiday today, so instead we have Jordan Lewis. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, Adrian. I'm super excited to do a little streaming again. It's nice to see you here on the live stream. I am Jordan Lewis, also known as Large Data Bank. I am the Senior Director of Engineering for Cockroach Cloud. I lead kind of the teams at Cockroach Labs that do all things cloud, from dedicated to serverless to this and that. So super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah. And how long have you been at Cockroach?
It's a good question. I've been at Cockroach since 2016.
Okay.
It's getting pretty hefty, but it's been a fun time, and lots of different things have happened throughout my tenure.
Yeah, lots of things. So today we thought we'd have a little fun chatting about a meme that's been going around. Jordan here created it. I believe we call it the SQL Iceberg. And so when did you first create this?
So I started working on this just about a year ago. I think it was during the summer, actually, last year, when I had the idea, or maybe was it 2 years ago?
I was like, let me see. I just realized I have the date on this.
No, it was last year. Okay.
Yeah, last year.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not totally crazy. Yeah. So I started working on this last year. I thought it would be super fun. I love an iceberg meme, and we have so much SQL knowledge and pro SQL people at the company. So I posted a little version of this, and I asked people to contribute their ideas.
Yeah. So let's take a look at this. So this is the SQL Iceberg meme. Oh, it's gonna be. Can I? All right, we're gonna be playing with the zoom here,
because it goes deep.
It goes deep. So you like iceberg memes. Was there one that you saw that kind of like kicked off this idea? Like, apparently
Probably.
there's like lots of them. What?
There are lots of them.
Uh-huh.
I think that, to be honest, like most of the iceberg memes, the funniest ones are usually about like conspiracy theories or things that are kind of not so tech focused. So, for example, it might be like, the Illuminati or something. It's like the very top, you discover that the CIA exists or something. No, not that I'm a conspiracy theory guy, but they're funny. They're funny things.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's such a good format, I think, for learning. That's a thing that I feel like people maybe don't. I think, okay, so here's what it is, right? When you see an iceberg meme, what you're tempted to do is scroll to the very bottom and understand whether you understand all the stuff in the iceberg meme. And most of the time, if it's a good iceberg meme, you'll scroll to the bottom and it'll be some kind of crazy thing that you've never heard of about some like fan theory about a guy who knows a guy, and you'll want to understand what that's all about. And so for me, it's such a good format to help people learn something about a really complicated domain. And obviously SQL is pretty complicated. I don't know if I knew that before joining Cockroach Labs, but turns out SQL goes super, super deep in a ridiculous way. So it's kind of I think a good way to help people understand that, hey, the class that you took that teaches you the basics of SQL, it's not the end of the story. There is a lot there, especially if you're working on making a SQL system like we do at Cockroach Labs.
Yeah, I think I learned that I'm still very much above water when it comes to SQL. But before we kind of dive into kind of your favorite parts, I do want to say that if you want like the whole almost 4-hour explanation, Jordan did do a video about this, and it is available on YouTube, and I will go ahead and paste that over into the chat. We'll make sure that it's linked in the description as well.
This is back when I had long hair.
Yeah.
I guess my hair's getting a little long now, but I did have a ponytail for a while. I'm glad that's over.
I was telling him that, like, before that we started this stream, like, I had that page up and I was doing something else, and every time I would glance over, I'd think that you were like already logged in and ready to stream, and so I'd be like, oh hey, it's early for me. So this meme came out about a year ago, and recently it's been making the rounds again. So like it went pretty viral the last time, right?
Yeah, I think it's had like 3 viral moments. There was kind of the moment that I posted it when it went It was exciting. I was glad that people were clicking on it, obviously. But yeah, people were it was getting a lot of retweets, a lot of press and stuff like that. Then it was quiet for a while. Then somebody like found it again, and it went quiet for a while. And now I think it's like it's kind of become a thing where it's like it maybe has achieved meme status because people share it without crediting me, which I both love and feel a little bit sad about. But that's okay.
Yeah. So when you posted it, we got this tweet from Swix. It was like, "This is the most information-dense meme I've ever seen. You could write a whole textbook based on this meme." I mean,
I think that they actually posted. They have like this GitHub repo that explains it as well. So like I think a few people have attempted to explain it and then forgotten about it, or like it's not findable, and then another person comes along and does that.
your little open source idea here, but most recently, prompted by, at least from how we saw it, prompted by a post by Zed here. It's been turned into an article, and I think they refer to it as the Postgres Iceberg. But yeah, so there's now a whole blog post explaining the whole thing. I have linked that in the description, so if you are watching, you can take a look at that. But that kind of brings us back to today. It's back around, and I'm seeing it a lot. And yeah, and like you said, like you're seeing credited and uncredited sources. But I believe in this post you are credited, so there you go. You're gonna live on in infamy.
Shout outs to Avastora. This post, by the way, it's so good. It's like it's a little bit ridiculous. He must have spent an enormous amount of time on this. I think the funniest thing when I click this, go ahead and click it for a second, because you'll see something funny right at the top. It basically says,
come on,
loading. It says 76-minute read. So I like popped this open on my phone. I was like, oh. I closed it. I came back to it later. But you know, if you have a 76-minute read blog post, I mean, that must have taken at least 76 minutes to create, and that's already kind of a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the attention span to read 76 minutes in one spot.
And it's also got like interactive elements. If you scroll down, there's like tabs and stuff that you can switch through. I don't know. It's a very impressive thing. It's like probably
like
so far down
out the
there.
Different levels.
Wow. Yeah. You see it. Like, look, he's got little tabs. He's got little plus buttons. Look at that. He's got this click for more details. I think it's out of control. I think
it's out of control.
Avastora is just like off the chain in terms of making some meme explainer content. The surface zone.
Wow. Yeah.
I honestly look. People are gonna ask me about any of this stuff. I'm just gonna say, go read this Avastora blog post, because it's gonna explain this stuff honestly better than I can.
Yeah. So if you want to pinpoint any item on the iceberg and learn more, yeah, check out this blog post. Again, it's linked in the description. But kind of, you know, from your level, let's go take a look at the meme, and you can point out like the things that you, I guess, found cool, or things that you think are highly relevant that everybody should know. I mean, again, this is only an hour stream, and you know, we don't have time to just read all 76 minutes.
I think that I tried to, there's like a couple of little, I don't know, Easter eggs or things that I found funny, at least when I was making this thing. One is that like null is kind of both at the top and at the bottom, and the reason that I did that is that I think null is one of these things where it's like you learn about this the very first time that you are taught anything about SQL. It's like, okay, null is this thing, and it like kind of exists, and you know, it's kind of just this basic thing, and it means there's nothing in the column or whatever. But null is like, unfortunately, both a super deep concept and also a concept that's like, to be honest, not super well defined or rationalized in SQL. Mm-hmm. People, I think, like, I don't know, the way that I like to explain nulls these days is that instead of saying null, you should say unknown. And that kind of helps rationalize some of the behavior. The thing that throws people most about null is what happens to it when you use it in an expression. You know, what's going to happen when you say null is equal to something else, or you say, you know, is this column equal to some other thing? And if a null is in there, you don't get no, you get null. And I think that confuses people quite a bit in the beginning. And so the way that I think is easiest to understand this is if you just say unknown, then it makes sense. And you're going to say, well, is unknown equal to 3? And you don't know because you don't know what it was in the first place. So that's why it would propagate to unknown or null. And there's a lot of other like weird behavior that you get with nulls. Like one of the ones that you're looking at, is towards the in the whale layer or whatever that thing is called. Maybe that's a manatee.
I think is a porpoise.
Porpoise. Okay, it's a sea creature. Nulls are equal and distinct, but unequal and unique. So this is like a super random thing where you can do something like select distinct, and that's going to give you all of the unique elements from a particular query. And according to distinct, you're only going to get one row for every null, or not one row for every null. You're going to get one row that contains null and no others. Even if you have 20 nulls, you're only going to get one null output if you do a select distinct. However, if you use a unique constraint, which is kind of a similar concept, I would say in SQL, then they're not equal actually, and so you can have many null columns in a unique index, and that's kind of like, what the heck? Who came up with that? That doesn't make any sense.
I have run into that.
Even if you call it unknown, it's not going to like really rationalize any of that.
Yeah. And also to those currently watching, if you have any questions for Jordan, please pop them into the chat, and we will get to them when we can. We'll get to them. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no, I have definitely run into the problem with the unique constraint, and I'm like, why isn't letting us go in again? Oh yeah, nulls. And I believe even in our docs, like we have like a little disclaimer about nulls when we talk about uniques.
Yeah, that would make sense. Although every database works like that. I don't know. I think like every database probably works like that, and then every database has to put, there's a weird, caveat about null behavior in its documentation because people will otherwise get confused. But yeah, I think I also included like a little bit of nullness in most of the columns here. Nulls and check constraints are truthy. I think that's kind of a funny one. Instead of being unknown, if it's in a check constraint, it's kind of on the truth side. Mm-hmm. If you try to make a null, like, so there's null in JSON too. A lot of databases, including Cockroach, support JSON. Mm-hmm. And if you have a null JSON element, that's like not the same thing as the SQL null, which confuses a lot of people as well. So if you try to say, it's kind of in the, what would you call that guy? That's kind of like the graybeard in the dark level, maybe. But in any case, if you do have a null and you try to make it, ask the database whether it's a null or not, you're just going to get false. It's just a different thing since it's JSON. But come on, can we do better? Maybe.
I know there's some things in here that looks like you just like made them up to put them in there, like the D and dumb.
Oh,
like is that a real thing, or are you just like messing with people?
No, D and dumb is a very real thing. So that one I actually learned about from Lucas Eater, who's the guy who does Juke. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lucas Eater. He's awesome. He is a real SQL expert. So his job, right? He's kind of working on this ORM like thing called Juke, JOOQ.
Oh, okay.
And it is a system that supports a lot of different databases. I think he's a pretty good programmer, and he's made a system that's quite extensible for himself. So it's actually, okay, so let me back up. It's a little bit more than an ORM. It's a query builder.
Okay.
And it gives a consistent API to its users. And no matter what database is in place, it wants to generate SQL that's like correct and relevant for that database. And in order to do that, efficiently and support all of the enterprise databases that Juke does, he has kind of a model for himself where all of the open source databases out there are kind of free, included in Juke by default, but like, closed source databases or proprietary databases. I think the way that his model works is that he asks for, money from the databases that are making the database in order for them to be supported in Juke. Great business model, love that. How does he actually, maintain all of this stuff is that he has to have a really, really deep knowledge of SQL across like all of these different databases. He has to understand the quirks across all these different databases, which is really not an easy task. And so basically, why am I saying this? He's a SQL expert. He wrote a blog post about this thing called D and dumb, which is, it's kind of like a theoretical table type that is used to demonstrate some concepts. I think maybe, okay, Do I remember all of this? No. It's
But
kind
is
of
it in
like,
the
I
blog
think
post? Probably.
there's a good blog post. Yeah, we can probably find it and link it in the chat. But it's kind of like, I think one of them is like, it's a table that has no columns in one row, and the other one is like a table that has no rows in one column or something like that, and you can like use it to construct all sorts of stuff, or I don't know, whatever. It's some kind of like bizarro world thing that like kind of exists in the bowels of the internet and may not be really useful for everybody, but it does exist.
Yeah. So I think we were talking about, so kind of close to this topic, we were kind of talking about Easter eggs. Did you have any thoughts to like just kind of throw some random things in there just to see if people caught them? Are there any Easter eggs that you've kind of thrown in here, or anything that you thought about and you were like, nah, maybe I shouldn't?
I think for the most part, all of this stuff is a real thing. I think the main one that might not really be true is at the very bottom right. Every SQL operator is actually a join. This one's kind of like related to. I had a coworker who used to work at Cockroach Labs named Justin Jaffray, who he's also got a really great blog post. He's working at Datadog now, but he's also a SQL expert. He's got a lot of really good blog posts about SQL and stuff like that. And he had one that kind of tried to claim that many SQL operators were kind of representable if you use a join in a funny way. And it's not strictly true that they're all joins, but like you can kind of, I don't know, there's a surprising number of SQL operators that you can kind of construct in different ways using joins instead of whatever native capability that they would do otherwise. That's kind of a cool blog post as well. Here, I'll pull that one up.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just dump some of this stuff into the chat.
Yeah. And then I'll try to make sure things get moved over into the description afterwards.
Yeah. I guess I also really like all balls. All balls is kind of like a funny one. So this is like a Postgres-ism that for whatever reason, if you, it's like a special constant for times.
Okay.
So if you like are trying to get the time, and instead of putting, you know, in quotes the time that you want, and you just write the word all balls, for whatever reason, Postgres will give you back like midnight. So like 0000000. And this is apparently a thing from like aviation, where, you know, back in the day you had some like cool Air Force people who were like midnight, all balls.
I mean, yeah, if you look at, you know, all those zeros, I guess it does look like all balls.
All balls.
Yeah.
And you can, there's like a Postgres mailing list post from like the early 2000s, I think, that explains what this one's about.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. I kind of think of this meme, it's all Easter eggs, right? These are all kind of like goofy things that like kind of exist in SQL, and they sound made up. That's kind of the joke, right? It's like, okay, you're first learning SQL, and then somebody's like, well, what's a phantom read? You're like, is that even real? Transaction sargability, what is that? Is that even real?
I was like, the Halloween problem.
I think we should do a Halloween problem stream this year for Halloween.
Oh yeah. Is that where Michael
that
Myers comes out and like kills your database?
Exactly. Yeah, that could be kind of a funny way to do it. Yeah, the Halloween problem's super cool. Basically, with that one, it was named not for anything scary, but something that happened one time at a company in around Halloween, I think. Okay. They wrote a query that updated everyone's salaries, and they were like, "Dear database, please set all of the salaries to, you know, salary plus X or whatever." Like there was some formula for it, and there was a bug in it. Or I think the way it worked is like it was like if the salary is less than a certain amount, you know, upgraded by this much or something. I don't know. This is maybe how they did salary upgrades back in the 1980s. Presumably it doesn't work like this anymore. But in any case, there's kind of this bug, or like if you implement SQL in a slightly naive way, you might, the system that like reads the rows off of the database, it might not remember whether it's touched a row or not. And so if you were to edit a row, it's going to make a new entry for it as MVCC at the very bottom of the table maybe. And so you'll get down to it again, and then you won't have remembered as the SQL system that you've edited that thing. So he ran this query, and some people's salaries got like bumped too much essentially. And of course, you know, as a boss, that person did not like that. So that's what the Halloween problem is.
And that's why raises take like, you know, a process that's like spans 4 months now.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. We can all complain about that. Compensation cycles are long.
Yeah. Yeah. So if Cockroach DB was a character in Halloween, it would be Laurie Strode. Before the stream, I tweeted if Cockroach DB was a character on the Titanic, it would be the unsinkable Molly Brown.
I like that. I like that.
My one of my first jobs was working in a video store, and I was good at it. There was no IMDb back then. It was just me. And so yeah, any movie reference or quote we can pull for something, I'm there.
Maybe you should do like a movie trivia stream one time, like somehow database themify it, but could be fun.
Oh, I need to do that.
Viewers would love to see your other side, Aydrian.
I need to have these like ready because I'm constantly doing like questions at like meetups and things like that. So we have like hex bugs that we give out, and like sometimes I'll ask like cockroach, like the bug related trivia, and then if you get it, I keep mine right here too. It's like
these things are so fun. Sometimes if I'm like thinking, I'll turn it on. I'll give it a little like arena on my desk. In the arena, right? Trying things as a hex bug.
Don't you have like a cat or?
No, I don't have a cat.
Oh, you don't have a cat? Okay. Like they're really fun to play with, like cats and dogs.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. This thing is fun to play with for me, and I'm not even a cat. I can't imagine how fun it would be to be a cat and chase one of these little guys around.
At Remix Conf, we had like a race set up. And so like
nice.
You would come up and we'd have two people race against each other, and the winner would get entered into a drawing for the iPods Pro or whatever.
Cool.
Like people had a lot of fun with it, and like people were like starting to be like, okay, so this one's actually really fast, and if you start it, you want to start it over here, and it was just people nerding out on anything they can nerd out on.
That's awesome. It's like the modern day lobster race.
Yeah. So
have you seen those TikTok memes where they have this filter that gives you what it looks like to be a dog or a cat or whatever?
No.
It's like it's like a color change filter, because like I guess dogs and cats, they have a different.
They see like blue and yellow.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'm wondering, as a hex bug, are you a color that really excites a dog or a cat, or is this kind of just like a bland, sad?
That's a good. I mean, let's see. This one's purple, so there's some blue in it, right? So I wonder if that. All right, I'm gonna look this up now.
We gotta find it out.
I also love dogs.
Yeah.
So something that I thought about, and like you interview a lot of people, but I feel like a lot of the database interview questions are kind of above the water. What would really wow you as a manager, a hiring manager, someone interviewing, if they came in and explained to you like from this pyramid or from the?
That's a funny question for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
One meta reason is that despite what you might think, we almost never talk in interviews about SQL, even though we're like a SQL company. And I think the reason is that I have a theory about databases. Databases, super deep topic, a lot of interesting stuff to learn, but everyone can learn it, I would say. It's like a thing that you can kind of learn for the most part on the job. I was not a SQL expert before I came to Cockroach Labs. I think the way that I think of Cockroach Labs, it mints SQL experts. Mm-hmm. We have like dozens and more than that running around now after we've existed. But I don't know. It's just kind of funny. I would never ask a question like this in an interview. But in any case, I'll answer your question in a legitimate way.
Sure.
It's just something I've thought about. It's kind of funny. What would wow me if somebody were to come in, and maybe we would be interviewing somebody for a super specialized, SQL optimizer role or something like that. So let's say we were doing that. Maybe it would make a little bit more sense. What would wow me? I don't know. I think, like, to be honest, if you were to demonstrate some random, like, generator functions zip while cross-joined, I don't know. There's all of these like random little implementation details of SQL. Probably isolation levels, explaining that really well would wow me. Some of these transaction anomalies like phantom reads or write skew, being able to explain that. It's not easy. I struggle to explaining that. Actually, on my YouTube video about this stuff, somebody commented recently. They were like, dude, you butchered the explanation of isolation levels. And I was like, you know what? That's a troll comment, but you're probably not wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I just remember like every interview that I went in, because like like 2 decades worth of working in this industry, and like in the beginning everybody wanted to ask the inner outer join, and so you're like you're like drawing the circles and overlapping on the Do they want to know if you can like actually write a SQL query? No, they just want to know if you like can overlap two circles and say enter and outer join.
That circle thing, by the way, that's also kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a meme. Like it isn't a great way to explain inner or outer joins, and yet it's catchy because it's so simple to draw and it seems like it makes sense. But you know, my colleagues and I are like, we could be doing better as an industry here, but we don't really know how.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's frowned upon to like go, why do you want me to answer this?
Yeah, so true, so true.
I do have a very famous interview where like someone asked me to do a whiteboard exercise, and I said no, thank you, and I still got the job.
Really?
I was interviewing as a developer advocate, and I was like, why do you want me to do this? So,
and they just let you get away with that?
Well, he was my only no, but luckily everybody else was a yes. But yeah, no, it's like
I have more questions about that, Adrian, but I won't. We won't do that on the live stream.
Yeah. I was like, oh, now I've forgotten. Yeah, cool. So yeah, we've talked about that. Is there anything else you want to say about like the iceberg meme or?
No. It's a good meme. It's a fun meme. Yeah. You can. I think it's fun to read it. I think it's fun to kind of figure out what level you're at and then try to deepen that level by a little bit. Now that we've got these posts out there,
yeah,
you could probably do that faster than otherwise. Some of these little arcane knowledge, but you know, there's no need to keep that knowledge arcane. And thanks to Avastora and the other people examining this thing, I think it's kind of a good, hopefully, little good learning tool. So I want to make another one day. I don't know what it should be about, but this thing was a blast to make. Let me tell you, it was just a lot of fun.
How long did it take you to make this?
It was probably like a week of on and off effort, something like that. I like had it open in the background. I would tweak it a little bit, move things around. I used Figma. I don't know if you're a Figma fan, but I think Figma is a really good tool for making memes.
I all of my mediocre drawings start as Figma.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Like actually, Figma, the stream scenes here started as Figma.
Oh, there you go.
Because I had to do a lot of like math with like 16:9 and.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has so many good tools for that too, right? I feel like I never use that stuff, but I can see it. It's like, oh, the viewports. I'm like, what is that? But it exists.
And then like there's like this new plugin that connects it to like VS Code, and so like it makes it even easier to like bring it over into whatever you're working with. I don't know, like lots and lots of things.
I thought you were gonna say the new plugin about the AI stuff, which I haven't played around with, but apparently they've got like an AI Figmify thing.
Oh, I'm not very big into AI right now. Like maybe, you know, once the robots are enslaving us, I'll be like, maybe I should look into this. But yeah, I'm not much of one to like jump on the bandwagon anymore. Like after I owned like a compact iPac, and you know, I learned not to not to jump on early.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, honestly. Like the AI stuff, I feel like I should be using it more, and I do use it occasionally. So okay, my favorite thing that I used ChatGPT for is that, you know, so I got married this year, and I had to write an email to a semi-distant family member about something. I won't get into what it was. I don't want to dox myself here, but in any case, I wanted to make a really polite email, but like one that was warm. And so I was kind of curious what would happen if I kind of wrote the constraints into ChatGPT as like bullet points, and it spat out a very good email that I kind of use as a template. I've done it a few times for things like that, where you want a communication, you know what all the bullet points are, but you want it to really have, you know, a professional or like a good style that maybe is not so easy to just snap your fingers and make that style. It's very good at that. And I don't feel like that's such a bad thing, honestly. It's like, you have the content. It's like, you can spend a few hours like remembering how to be really polite, or you can have something like help you out with that. And then somebody on the other end can just like decode it with ChatGPT as well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go down the line of like you had it write your vowels or.
No, so I had a pre-vow to my wife, which was I will not use ChatGPT to write my vows. She made me promise.
Nice. That's going to be kind of common for tech people going forward. All the ladies are going to be like, can't use ChatGPT. It has to come from you.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
But
had an AI hack night at the New York office on Wednesday, and so we had people coming and like hacking on different things. It was sponsored
oh,
by
cool.
us and Cloudflare and Twilio,
Nice.
and we had one person. I don't know if you know this, but you can rent 15 seconds of screen time in Times Square for $40.
Whoa.
So like, there's this app you can download and just like do it. And so, one guy, Ricky Robinette, who's at Cloudflare, he likes to do AI and magic, like magic tricks. And so like the reveal was done on the screen in Times Square, and so it
Wow.
was pretty cool. If you like go to my Twitter, there's a video of him doing the whole thing.
Wow. So it's like he gets somebody to pick a card, and then the card like appears on the thing or whatever.
Yeah, it was like he's like, "Did you guess this?" And yeah,
Does he have to time it perfectly, or can you just like press a button and then?
yeah,
it
he
goes?
was like, "Okay, so he's like, we in the next 40 seconds." But we had like a live stream, so they also give you like a live stream, so you can, if you're not there to see it, you can see it pop up.
Gotcha.
But
That's
yeah.
awesome. So what was like the best AI outcome from the hack night?
I mean, we it was just 5 hours because it was like a night. We went from 5 to 10. It was a long night for me.
Yeah.
We had some guy who learned about our hack night and planned a whole trip to New York from Calgary,
Wow.
up in Canada. He's like, it's not the only reason I'm here, but it sparked like me planning a trip for other things too. So he came, and he's like, he has some kind of startup where he does AI stuff. The thing that he was showing off was perfume bundling. So like, he actually has a client that he did this, and so he's using AI to help bundle perfumes, because like you can like buy so many, and then it will like suggest ones to use.
Dang, that's crazy. What's
James
up,
just said
James?
he's going to put the loser of his fantasy football league on the video billboards.
That's awesome. Oh, and
Um,
thanks, Sushruth, for sending another diagram for understanding joins by Alex Zhu. I haven't seen that. We'll have to check that out.
yeah, we'll have to check that out. It's like now I've gone way off track. The good thing about doing these so early is like my ADHD meds don't kick in until like halfway through, so you never know what you're gonna get. Um,
That's kind of good. You know, you want a little bit of stream of consciousness nature for a
You know
good
what?
live
It's
stream.
Friday.
Jump from topic to topic. That's
Yeah.
important.
And yeah, please feel free to keep putting things in the chat. It doesn't have to be about the iceberg. Anything you want to ask Jordan or me, but Jordan. But yeah, so I guess let's go kind of a little bit broader. Is there anything that you've been working on, or we have been working on internally, that you're excited about, and you can kind of give us a little sneak peek of?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I have top of mind right now, just because we've been making some quick progress on it, is launching Cockroach DB into Azure. That's something that we've been working on for a while. If you've used Cockroach, you know that you can deploy the database onto either GCP or AWS right now, which is good start. A lot of people use GCP and AWS, but Azure, I don't know. There's probably some stat I could throw out. It's the fastest growing cloud or something. I actually don't know what the superlative for Azure is, but a lot of people want to be using Azure, and so we are implementing Cockroach DB Cloud on top of Azure right now. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I think from a technical perspective, I haven't been working on it so closely, but from what I understand, it is a challenge actually. It isn't so easy to take a system and have it be uniformly deployable in all of the clouds. You do have to do a significant amount of manual work to like translate the different concepts between the three different clouds. And so that's been kind of interesting, I think, for the team to learn about. Like, what are all the differences? What are the concepts that each of the clouds have differently? I think naively, I once believed that there were products like OpenShift maybe that give a consistent API that works across all of the 3 clouds. So you don't, as an implementer, have to worry about the differences. I now know that that's not the case. There are significant like conceptual differences in the clouds that require you to do different work depending on what you're trying to do there. But yeah, I guess you're pulling up our Azure.
This is one of our landing pages, and I think so. Not only are we working on it, I think we have a small group of people actively using it, and so I think that's something that's really cool that we do, where we actually engage with customers who are looking to use these features, and we allow them to use it, get feedback, and improve it. So by the time something actually goes GA, it's actually pretty good, but also something somebody wants, right? So we're not putting out features just to put out features. A lot of what we're doing is, requests from the customers or things that people need to succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mention, but we see absolutely massive demand for Azure, especially across the finance segment. People really want to see Azure support in the enterprise world, I guess. And so, yeah, to your point, we do have this kind of private preview system set up. People are using Azure. We're learning from them. It isn't, we're lucky to have partners who are interested in trying features as they're being built, right? We're not giving them a fully baked GA system. We're working with them to understand what's working about this, what isn't working about this, what are some things that are broken. Can you help us, make this thing a reality a little bit quicker? And so that's a cool program. I definitely really like it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm like, what else is coming?
Azure's the one top of mind for me right now. There's definitely lots of other stuff happening around the company, but I don't know. We've been focusing a good amount on this Azure thing. I mean, there's I could talk about other random things. We've got some improved methods for organizing your Cockroach databases, some improved IAM features, basically just general like hardening and improvement of using Cockroach DB at scale. If you're a company that has a lot of databases, you want to make sure that you can apply roles and policies to those things in a kind of uniform way. It's stuff that you would probably expect if you're using one of the big clouds. IAM is a really hard thing to get right, and it turns out that as a provider, you need to provide quite a lot of sophisticated grouping mechanisms and this and that. And so we've been kind of doing some work on that to make it easier for you to run all of your Cockroach databases in a uniform way, manage the fleet. We're not talking about cattle, Aydrian. We're talking about fleets. So how about that?
Yeah. Oh, someone just mentioned the new office in Bengaluru.
There you go. Yeah. We're definitely spinning up an India office right now. It's pretty exciting. Yeah. The leader of our India office is actually in New York right now. We're doing a little offsite next week with the kind of R&D leadership at Cockroach, and so Sritar is in New York to chat with the folks. I've gotten to meet him a few times, but it's always fun to have him here. He's great, big fan. He's building the office really quick. It surprised me how quickly we've stood up an office from zero to hero.
Yeah. So he's doing all of that, and then he's also really good about going to events that are in India, speaking at events that are around India. So making sure that Cockroach really has a good presence there. So maybe if you are in the area and you see somebody from Cockroach DB, it's probably him. Go up and say hi. Ask them questions. So, and then let's see. And then also, like, as most people know, Cockroach DB is written completely in Go. I think everything we have now is pretty much Go. If not, we are like swapping it out for Go. But we will be at is it GoCon or Gophercon this year in San Diego. So there will be some of our people out there. I think some of our engineers are going. You're not going this year, Jordan?
I'm not. I did go last year. It was pretty fun. This year's been a bit busy travel-wise for me, so I'm taking a break. But it is a cool conference. I've got a gopher from last time. I keep this guy.
I love the gopher. Something about the buggy eyes. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty good subject for a plushie. So.
Oh yeah. I love a good mascot.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also, like, speaking about events, we have Roachfest 2023 coming. So tickets are still available. Go away. You can still register. You went to Roachfest last year, right?
Yeah. I was there. I did a little talk about the general SQL roadmap, stuff like that. But it was a really cool conference. Yeah, you have. I think that the thing that's fun about this one is just that you've got all of these different people talking about how they're successfully using Cockroach at scale at their companies, and it's a cool way as a customer to kind of connect your usage of databases or your desired usage of databases with what's actually happening in the real world from companies like yours.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool thing.
So there's a good mix of speakers from companies using CockroachDB, from internal people. Some of the speakers you might have seen on, oh no, it was like our podcast, which is called Big Ideas and Big Ideas in Application Development, something like that. So we've had some of them on there. But last year it was held at our office, so we had around 200 people in our office in Chelsea. It was pretty great. But this year we are making it bigger, and it's going to be in a different location. I think somewhere in Tribeca. But if you are interested, come sign up. Go. The schedule is out. A lot of the speakers have been announced. But yeah. Come to our conference.
I actually didn't realize that it's in a different space. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've outgrown our space.
That makes sense.
We wanted to be bigger. So it's one of those things we started last year. As soon as we were able to start, having events post-pandemic, or after opening up, and I think it's just going to get bigger every year. So, excited to see where it goes. And I've heard good things. I'll probably pop in a little bit this year. But also I have like hackathons and things to do. App architecture. Big Ideas in App Architecture is the name of the podcast. And if you haven't seen it, you can find that on our YouTube channel. So I believe, if you want to see the people talking. But then also it's available on many of the podcast platforms. And then the venue for Roachfest is going to be at Tribeca 360. So
that's a nice venue. That's a solid venue for sure.
I can't remember if I'd been there or not, but it looked really nice.
It's called 360 because it's a giant circle up in the sky.
Oh yeah, so like a rooftop type thing. Yeah,
it's not a rooftop thing, but it's like it's indoors. That would be kind of fun to have an outdoor conference, but not this time.
Not this time. Yeah. So there's all of that. Trying to think, is there anything else that we can mention? We got about 15 minutes left in our hour. We're happy to answer any questions if they pop up. Yeah. Okay.
What's top of mind for you, Aydrian? I know you did. So what was the other meetup you did? You did an AI one.
So this week we had AI Hack Night, and then last night we hosted one of our partners' user groups. So Directus is kind of people kind of use it as a content management system. But it also it connects with CockroachDB and some other databases. But it puts an API on top of it. It connects it to GraphQL. It allows you to create basically like a backend for internal tools, which is really nice. I'm thinking about using it because I'm building all of these tools that have front ends, but I haven't built the admin section, and so I've been adding things by just inserting SQL in the shell, and so it's a great way to it's a great way to just plop some kind of admin interface, and you can have it connect to Okta if you're doing single sign-on and things like that, and set permissions. So that was last night, and the CTO was there because he lives in Brooklyn, I believe. But we host all kinds of meetups. We recently had the New York Java SIG meetup, so the Java Special Interest Group. We had transit techies, which was pretty cool. So these are people who are like very interested in the open data that's provided by MTA, and so they're like consuming that data and doing different things with it. But for me, I'm getting ready to start our hackathon season, so our fall hackathon season. Next weekend, I will be in at the University of Waterloo for Hack the North. So that's a big one. We get over 1,000 participants.
Wow.
We'll be giving a workshop. So I created a workshop on learning SQL, but we're doing that by implementing user password authentication
Cool.
in an app that uses React on the front end and Python on the back end, because most students are learning Python these days. So there's that. We'll have our best use of CockroachDB challenge. I'm building a whole like hack pack kit, so we can point people at a website. They'll have all of the resources that they need, and then we'll also like list out some like cool features that Cockroach has and how they might be able to use them. So doing real-time applications with CDC and webhooks, using row-level TTL to automatically delete data, and so on and so forth. We have geospatial data. We can work with JSON data. So, we want to make sure that people are like, well, I can't use CockroachDB because I want to use X feature. And we'll be like, we have these features. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then we will have a recruiter out there because we do get a lot of interns and new hires from University of Waterloo. So that's the first one. And then next month we will be going to CalHacks, which is the hackathon for UC Berkeley.
Nice.
Which is
That's
the
exciting.
alma mater of Peter and Spencer, two of our co-founders. Right. Yeah.
Super cool. That's like kind of an all-star lineup of hackathons coming up. Those are kind of the two. I feel like those are the biggest hackathons ever, right?
Yeah, they're. I mean, it's Waterloo is the biggest one in Canada. I think UC Berkeley is the biggest one on the West Coast, and then in the spring we do BitCamp, which I think is the biggest one on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, we just have a number of them that we do, and we have trophies. I wish I had one to show you because they're so cool. One of our coworkers, Bob, has a fabrication shop, and he built them for us. And so we get these cockroaches, real live cockroaches in resin, and then he builds like a little frame around them and customizes them for like each event, and the students love them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so every member of the team ends up getting one of the trophies and a $100 Amazon gift card, so they can buy books or video games or manga, whatever they want.
Lucrative way to make a little bit of money as a student. Try to hit that hackathon circuit, win a couple prizes, get some manga.
Yeah, but also like we're educating people about CockroachDB, about relational databases. So we like to say that never forget your first car. We want it to be the same way with the database, and I'm finding that we are their first relational database. So a lot of people have come with like document database experience, but our workshops are standing room only. Like we have plenty of questions. People come and ask us how to do things, and so we make sure we bring some of our engineers, some of our SREs, we even have account reps. So it's a fun time.
Super cool. Love that.
Yeah. But if you have any questions that you weren't able to ask today, please add a comment to this stream. We will try to get back to you. You can always tweet questions at us. You can use the hashtag distributed tea time, and we will answer them too. Let's see what says, will Roachfest presentations end up on YouTube? That is a good question. I think some of them will be released. It just depends on like the agreement that we have with the speaker. But you can probably, if we have any on YouTube from last year, I mean, you can pop over to the videos tab, wherever you're like, you're already on the channel. So go ahead and take a look over there, and there might be a playlist, or you might be able to find them. But there were a lot. I think
we have a few recorded on YouTube from last time, and I'm sure that I'm sure we'll put them where we can up on YouTube as well this year.
Yeah, and then we also like took some videos, some testimonials, I guess, some other types of videos with our customers who were there outside of the speaking. Roachfest 22 talks can be found on YouTube. Thank you, James. Yeah. So yeah, so check those out. There's actually like a wealth of knowledge on our YouTube. It's really growing out. Normally we have Rob here. Rob has been spending a lot of time building a lot of videos, a lot of short videos, explaining like some of the deeper concepts. He's working on a whole series on distributed SQL. Occasionally we get questions from the community and they will prompt a video. So he did one on timestamp versus timestamp TZ, which I thought was pretty good. Because that's, time, that's so complicated.
That's in the iceberg, by the way.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Timestamps do not have a do not store a time zone. So yeah.
Well, timestamp TZs don't store a time zone. You'd think they would, but that's not actually what it means.
but they're also stored in UTC, right? It's like understood as UTC.
Yeah. It's kind of just like a little. Why is it a whole data type? I couldn't tell you, but it just gets the timestamp interpreted as whatever the user is connected at time zone wise. So
yeah,
super weird.
And then me as an application developer, like I have to deal with that. And like right now, I'm doing a lot of things using Remix, and I just implemented client hints. So this is, I don't know if Kent C. Dodds came up with it, but he came up with a way. I think he did it because he references somebody, but he came up with a way to send the timestamp info over to the server so you can render the time in the correct time zone, so that way you don't get the little flicker. But yeah, so you have to be able to read the time from the browser, which is client side, render it on the server side, and do all of those things, and then also take into account locale. So not everybody formats their date like us. And so we need to handle that as well. So lots of interesting things from both sides. I know I am learning a lot.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think we can probably start wrapping up. Again, if you have any questions, tweet them, ask them in the descriptions. We will answer them. Any links that we shared, I will make sure that we put those in the description. And join us in 2 weeks. I don't know what the topic's going to be, but when Rob should be back, and we will figure that out. But if you have ideas for a topic, there's something you want to hear explained more, please again drop those in the chat or tweet them out, #DistributedTeaTime, and we'll add it. This is a time for y'all to come ask questions, learn something, and so we're here for you. But thank you for joining us, Jordan, and keep making those memes.
Thank you, Aydrian. It was a pleasure. Great talking with you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, and so as they say across the pond, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Bye, everyone.